All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Mr. Court Officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honours. This is case CBC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you. Very well. First, I will call appearances, starting with the SPO. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honours, and good morning. The Specialist Prosecutor's Office today is represented by Prosecutor Cesare Michalsuk, Associate Prosecutor Filippo De Minicis, Case Manager Julie Mann, Legal Intern Julie Osborne, and myself, Silvia D'Ascoli, Associate Prosecutor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Victims' Counsel, it's your turn.
Thank you, Your Honours, and good morning, Your Honours, and good morning, everybody. The participating victims are represented today by Nyomza Hachibechiri, my junior legal associate, and by myself, Annie Poos, as Victims' Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. Victims' Counsel. Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honour. Defense is represented by Mr. Betim Shala, my co-counsel, interpreter, investigator, Mr. Fatmir Pillai, myself, Julius van Bonnet, counsel, and remote is Mr. Mustafa joining us.
Very well. Mr. Mustafa, does the connection work okay? Can you hear us fine?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for the record, you are appearing in front of trial panel 1. Today we will hear the testimony of SPO witness 4391. And I would like to start right away with that.
Your Honour, with permission, we would like to raise an issue.
Both. I saw the SPO standing at...
Yes, Your Honours, we would also like to raise a preliminary matter, but in private session, so depending on whether... Thank you.
Mr. van Bonnet, would you like to raise it in private or in public?
I'll try to do it in a public session, Your Honour. I'm not sure whether we are going to speak about the same issue, Mrs. Prosecutor. Our issue is the filing of 19th of November requesting the application of Rule 153.1. I just take a look at the prosecutor whether that would be the same issue or not.
It is not the same issue, but we do have a communication also with regard to that filing.
Thank you very much. Let me just continue then for the moment. Your Honour, we're not sure within which time frame it would be necessary to react on it. Considering the time frame that we have this week, we would ask for some leave to address that issue. In any event, the defense opposes the request of the prosecutor. That is the essence of it. And in particular, the issue is, as Rule 153 says that the panel may admit the written statement of a witness which goes to proof of a matter other than the acts and the conduct of the accused. We find it the request too vague as to which precise matter this particular request would address the issue.
Okay. Defense Counsel.
Do we need to go in private session for this?
Now, what I would like you to do is to make a filing on this and not oral submissions.
No.
I think that I noted here for myself that you have a request by when you should file it in as a matter of taking into account the rules.
Yes.
Now, that is the 1st of December.
Yeah.
And would the 1st of December be doable for you? Because then we are already in next week. Today we are living the 29th, the 30th. It would be Thursday, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Wednesday from next week. Then you are supposed to make a filing on the matter.
With permission, it would be fine if we would be able to do that on the Friday. It gives us a little bit more time. We have some other developments as well, and that would give us the proper time to respond. But in particular, we would like to have a clarity on the specific matter that is being envisaged here in this request. That is basically what we ask for, so that we can even more precisely. So either we can do that in a oral situation where this is being precised, or when it is not necessary and it is as it is, then at least we know where we stand.
Yes, and with regard to the extension, the reasons for requesting an extension of 2 days, we can always, but a minimum of reasoning would be appreciated.
We have a full schedule this week, Your Honor. We have also some ongoing issues regarding investigations, regarding some, let me say, issues that might be we run out a little bit of time for the issues to cover those issues, and this is a full hearing week. We probably work in the weekend, or Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday is maybe a little bit too short, but we'll give it a try anyway to do it on the Wednesday. But if it would be possible, then that would be really helpful for our schedule.
We need good cause in this aspect. So I heard you. I noted what you said. Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Shall I ask Mr. Court Officer to bring us into private, or would you like to make a remark with regard to this filing in public?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly, just to add that today there will be an addendum to that filing coming up. That will be an addendum stating the reasons for the request, which were also ordered by the trial panel. But then the substance is already all in the main filing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into private, please?
We are in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you very much. Yes, then we will start with the testimony of SPO witness 4391. Madame Court Usher, could you please usher the witness into the courtroom? Please have a seat. Mr. Witness, I'm in front of you. Mr. Witness, I'm sitting here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the specialist chambers.
Thank you.
Understand you can hear me well?
Yes,
How are you, first of all?
I am okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Today we will start with your testimony. And before we begin, I have several remarks for you. First, I will explain the protective measures that have been granted to you for your testimony. You have been assigned a pseudonym, and this means that we will never mention your name, but we will only address you as Mr. Witness to make sure that the public does not know your name. Yeah, I see you nodding. You also have face and voice distortion, which means that no one outside the courtroom watching the broadcast can see your face or hear your real voice during the testimony. When you answer questions that will not reveal your identity, we will do so in an open session. And that means that the public can hear what is said in the courtroom. And when you are asked to describe anything that relates specifically to you, or to mention facts that may reveal your identity, we will do so in a private session. And that means that there is no broadcast and no one outside the courtroom can hear what is said inside the courtroom. And if anything is said during open session that may identify you, we will protect this information. Your testimony will be broadcast with a delay, and we can remove any such information from the broadcast that will be seen and heard by the public and from the public transcript of the proceedings. And in addition to these protective measures, 3 additional special measures were added up upon request by the Witness Protection and Support Office, pursuant to Rule 80, Paragraph 4, C, I, and paragraph 5 of the rulings, and that's filing 261, submitted on the 19th of November 2021. And these special measures are attendance of a psychologist during your testimony and in-court assistance by a support staff member sitting next to you. Providing you with reading assistance when necessary, and adapting the ways of questioning where necessary, meaning that the parties and the Victims' Council will do their best to ask clear and simple questions and will avoid using double negative, confrontational, pressuring or repetitive questions during their examinations. And this decision of the panel has been shared through CMU with the parties and the Victims' Council by email dated 19 November 2021 at 1400 and at 4 minutes to 4. To 3, apology, 4 minutes to 3. Are the protective measures I just explained to you, Mr. Witness, clear for you?
Yes.
The witness. And to all of us, I do repeat it every time because it's so important. Needless to say that we should pay the utmost attention to the protective measures in the course of the examination, avoiding the disclosure of any confidential information. I remind you that this hearing is held in open session unless otherwise decided by the panel, and remind the parties and Victims' Council of the usual courtroom rules. Mr. Witness, I come now back to you. You are called to testify before the specialist chambers in the case of the specialist prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa to assist the panel to reach a verdict. After you have taken your solemn declaration to tell the truth, you will be asked questions by the lawyers for the prosecution, sitting on your left side with the violet robe. I see you nodding to them. Then we have the lawyers representing the victims admitted to participate in this case. Yeah, you're seeing the victims team. And then on the other side, the defense counsel and the team of Mr. Mustafa. That's the other side. And then you see the judge. Here we are, the judges of the panel. We will also be asking you questions at the end, after everybody has been asking you questions. I would like to provide you with some guidance for asking the questions that, for answering the questions that you will be asked. Mr. Witness, please listen carefully to each question, and if you don't understand, feel free to ask the question to be repeated. Yeah? We want you to tell the truth and to tell us what you saw, you heard, you experienced, or sensed yourself. And if you did not see or hear it yourself, but you found out in some other way, please tell us and explain how. Do not answer questions put to you by simply referring to any prior statements that you gave to the SPO or any other entity. We want you to give the full response to any question here in court before the judges of this panel. You may not remember all details of the events, and this is perfectly fine. Yeah? Please testify just on what you remember, and do not guess. It's fine to say, I don't know, I don't remember. Yes, I see you nodding again. So you have understood all this, Mr. Witness?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, and now I'd like to give you some practical advice for your testimony. Mr. Witness, everything that we say here is translated and recorded. So it is important to speak into the microphone, to speak clearly, and to speak at a slow pace to allow the interpreters to translate everything. You should only start speaking when the person asking you a question has finished. So when a question is asked, please count in your head up till 5 and only then give the answer. This pause of 5 seconds is essential for us to properly hear, translate, and record what you are saying. If you have any questions, if you need a break, or you need assistance of any kind at any time, please raise your hand so I know that you want to say something.
Okay.
You have understood all this, Mr. Witness?
Yes.
As we must do with every witness, I will now ask you to read your solemn declaration to tell the truth. And I remind you that it is an offense within the jurisdiction of the specialist chambers to give a false statement. Yeah. Madame Court Clerk, can you please assist the witness with his solemn declaration? Please, Mr. Witness, read the text provided to you.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. You are now under oath to tell the truth. We can now begin with the testimony of witness 4391, starting with the question by the SPO. Madam Prosecutor, you have estimated 4 hours for your questioning of this witness, and I see you nodding to me. Please inform the panel, as always, of any changes in this regard. You have the floor.
I will, Your Honors. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Witness.
Good morning.
For the prosecution, who will be directing your examination today. Madam President has already explained to you the protective measures applicable in your case and how we will be using private and open session. And I will also remind you, when we are in open session, during my questions, to be careful with certain information so that we apply the utmost care to protecting, identifying information. Also a kind reminder that in case you do not understand any of the questions that I put to you, or if you want me to repeat them, please feel free to say so.
Okay, I will.
Your Honors, if we could please move into private session for the initial part of the examination, as it will be dealing with the identifying information of the witness. Thank you.
Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session, please?
We are in private session, Your Honors.
Thank you. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, I will start first with taking your personal details. Can you please state your full name for the record?
My real name?
Yes, don't worry, we are in private session. No one outside of the courtroom can hear what we are saying.
We're in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you. Madam Court Usher, could you please accompany the witness out of the courtroom? Mr. Witness, we will take a break of 30 minutes. We see you back at 11:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I will now have a request for the Victims' Council. I will do that in public. Then we will go into private for a matter, and then we will go back to public to adjourn for the next half an hour. Victims' Council, you may also respond to the Rule 153 request, filing 169, paragraph 40. And your deadline is also for the 1st of December from the other week, from next week. And our question would be if you also would like to have an extension of the deadline, considering our full hearing week this week. It's up to you.
Thank you for your consideration, Your Honours. We'll be fine. We can file our observations by the 1st of July. Thank you.
December. Sorry. Very well.
Yes, 1st of December was what I meant. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Victims' Council. Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into private, please?
We're in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you. We will break and we will resume in 30 minutes. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Welcome back. Appearances for the SPO, I see the same composition. That is also for the Victims' Council team and the Defense Council.
Mr. Pillai will join us later.
Very well, thank you. And Mr. Mustafa is also connected with us via video link. Very well. Before I usher the witness in, I will deliver an oral order with regard to the defense request for extension of time to respond to SPO filing 263. The panel notes the submissions of the defense, which requests an extension until Friday, 3rd December 2021 to respond to the rule request filed by the SPO on the 19th of November 2021 on account of the full schedule of court hearings and overlapping defense work during the current week, 22 to 26 November 2021. In accordance with Rule 76 of the rules, the deadline for any response would normally be Wednesday, 1st of December 2021. The panel considers that good cause is shown within the meaning of Rule 9, paragraph 5a of the rules. In particular, the extension requested is modest, only 2 days, and as stated by the SPO, there will be an addendum to the SPO request, which therefore requires consideration for the purposes of any defense response. Therefore, the panel grants the request and orders the defense to file a response to filing 263 by Friday, 3rd December 2021. This concludes the oral order. Very well. Madam Court Usher, could you bring the witness in, please? Madam Prosecutor, please.
Your Honors, while the witness is being brought in, just to let the parties know that I think I will be done with the direct examination within this session.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome back, Mr. Witness.
Thank you.
Floor again to the Specialist Prosecution Office to continue with the questioning. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Since the next questions will also pertain to identifying details, may I ask the trial panel to go into private session, please?
Yes, of course, Madam Prosecutor. Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into private session, please?
We're in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you very much. Madam Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honours. Mr. Witness, so you said you and others exhumed the body, that the body was covered in a blanket. Can you describe anything else you saw on the body?
When we unfolded the blanket out, we noticed that his legs and his arms were broken, and we also saw that there were 3 or 4 bullet holes at his back.
Can you tell us how you noticed that his legs and arms were broken?
It was obvious. When we moved them, it was obvious that they were broken. When we picked up the body, you could tell that the limbs were broken.
Can you describe any other signs you saw on the body?
Also, the bullet holes at the back of the body.
Any other marks or signs?
No.
What did you do with the body? You said you exhumed it. Can you take us through the steps, please? Please remember, we are in open session.
We exhumed the body and we put the body into a coffin.
How did you leave the grave, the area of the grave, when you left, after removing the body?
Another body was there, remained there. We covered it and we informed the OSC or K4.
So I understand you did not exhume the other body, right?
No, we didn't.
And did you leave the soil, the grave? You said covered, so does that mean in the same way you found it?
Yes.
Did the second time, did you see this second time any details regarding this other body that was in the grave?
No.
So I understand the other body was not uncovered at all in any part?
It was covered in a blanket.
Was it covered in, you said a blanket? Was this a similar blanket to the one that covered the first body?
Yes. No. No, there are 2 separate blankets. One blanket for one body.
Could you tell whether it was a male or female body?
I don't remember.
That's fine. Your Honors, could we please go into private session because the next set of questions will again imply identifying details, please.
Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into a private session, please?
We're in private session, Your Honors.
the city.
And in terms of how that affected you personally?
Yes, it has affected me personally a lot. I have always lived in fear and under stress.
Your Honors, I will just consult for a few minutes with my colleagues to see whether there's anything else we want to cover.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. I don't have further questions, so we can go back to open session, and I will say that that's the end of my direct examination.
Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into public session, please?
We're in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, that was those were my questions, and I don't have further question for you at the moment. Thank you, Your Honors.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. For reasons of organization, we are going to have a slight change of the program, and that means that it is my intention to have a break now for lunch till 1:30, or let's a quarter to 2, and then we continue with the interrogation, starting with the Victims' Counsel, and then with the Defense Counsel. Madam Court Usher, could you please usher the witness out of the courtroom? Mr. Witness, we will now have a lunch break till 1:45.
Okay.
Okay, we will now break and resume at 1:45. Oh, okay, we don't resume yet. Please. Defense Counsel.
Yes.
You have the floor.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you very much. If it would be for the defense, it would be our preference that we start questioning with this witness tomorrow. as we have a little bit more time to prepare and just that actually.
Thank you, Defense Counsel. Then my next question would be to the Victims' Counsel. What is your position on this with regard to your own questioning for today?
I would be ready to post my questions either after a short break now or after the lunch break, and I don't envisage that possibly to take longer than half an hour, more or less, probably even less, given that some of the impact of the crime has been covered by the prosecution questions already.
Okay, very well, thank you. Then we will proceed. Oh, Madam Prosecutor, please.
Just in relation to the Defense Counsel's request, unless good cause is shown, I think our preference would be that we continue today, or at least that we start cross-examination.
Okay. Would you like to, Victims' Counsel, please?
There is one aspect. Are we in open or private session?
We are in public session.
In that case, may I request switching to private for a moment, please?
Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session?
Take into consideration.
Thank you, Victims' Counsel. Defense Counsel, would you like to submit something more?
Well, Your Honor, I think if we would cover tomorrow's morning session, then I think probably we will finish by that time. So I would say we would probably cover it until until 12:30 or so. I think that would finish our questioning. So I don't think that it really causes a big disruption of anything, and it's just that we have a little bit more time to prepare transcripts in relation to some of the issues that are brought up. So that's why I would like to do that. I think maybe, not sure, but usually the panel asks questions too. We can finish probably tomorrow with this witness.
Good. Thank you, Defense Counsel. Madam Prosecutor, please.
Yes, it's in relation also to the list of documents notified. We can probably do this just before the beginning of cross-examination and let the time first to the Victims' Counsel for her examination. But we also had some remarks about the documents listed and the way the defense counsel plans to put these statements. So maybe we can also discuss that before the beginning of cross-examination.
I think it would be a good idea if the prosecution would already at this moment in time share its observations on this point, because then we can consider them.
Of course, Your Honors. We are in a private session, so I will do it in private session because of the nature of the remarks.
To be honest, a part of our discussion could have been done in public. I realized, and my attention was also called to it, but I didn't want to interrupt that we were discussing it. So now we are in private, and please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. It is in relation to the fact that the list of documents for the cross-examination of this witness list a number of transcript and statements of protected witness before the court. So we have, leaving aside, of course, the weight that such exercise could have, which is something that, of course, we leave to the trial panel, we would expect the defense counsel to put questions in a general way so that those questions do not identify specific people as being witnesses before this court. So since it is not clear to the SPO the way in which transcripts and statements of protected witnesses in this case can be used, the extent to which this is material that can be put to another witness, we wanted to raise those issues so that it is clear in which way, the limits within which this can be done. And I said, again, leaving aside matters of weight of such an exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. You have brought it up, and it is a point of that the panel would also have been raising in order to discuss it. So thank you for your views. Victims' Counsel, would you like to bring in submissions on this point? Defense Counsel, could you give your view, or do you want to comment on this? Madam Prosecutor, you're standing again.
Yes, sorry, Your Honors. I should have added as well in relation to the explanations of why cross-examination should start tomorrow, that we still didn't hear of a good cause being shown, but that's another matter. Thank you.
Okay. Defense Counsel, the question is if you would like to, although I think you already gave us an explanation why you would like to do the cross-examination tomorrow, but if you could add something to that, if there is something else to add, please do so. And the Specialist Prosecution Office has brought forward the point of how the interrogation with regard to the testimonies of the protected witnesses who have testified already before this court and will do, how you were envisaging to proceed, having in mind that we should not identify those protected witnesses.
Well, as far as the identification of any protected witness, that of course will not be done. And whether it is done, it would be done so in private session. So that is how I will proceed regarding that matter. As far as the documents is concerned,
Wait.
Yeah.
Again, as far as the identification of any protected witness, of course, will not be done. It would be done in private session. The point is that the protected witness in court should not be aware of the identity of the testimonies of the protected, or not of the testimony, but of the names of the protected witness you are putting for him to comment on. So it's a delicate question because sometimes you cannot just ask, did he say that? Because then the other person would know, the witness would know, yes, it's that or that person. So it's not only about going into private session, it's much more than that.
Well, I can say on that issue that we will most probably ask who has visited the house of this particular witness. Your Honor, are we in private session?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And in relation to that, I would simply try to establish with this witness whether he has noticed or made any observations regarding the people who have visited the house of this witness, and that is upon the arrival of the people who were released, without mentioning those people's names, yeah,
and without saying
and without saying the pseudonym or anything, but obviously there is some people that the witness spoke about, and I believe that there was also another person that he spoke about that he knew that person. And it is just the observations that he has regarding those people that we want to clarify on that issue. That is for, I think, most of the people that are listed.
Defense counsel.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to give to answer you in order to have a discussion on this. So then
I will not
you should not say this person said
No.
that he was at your place.
No.
Can you confirm that? That would not be a way to approach this.
Unless it is a person that he has named in his previous statements before by himself, then it is obvious that that person might have been attending or not attending.
Okay,
We do know we can go about in age difference between people that were coming to the house, length, description of such people, in order to be at a later stage able to, well, see who this person might mean. For sure, he, excuse me, Your Honor, for sure he has mentioned one person that he mentioned. Sorry, I just
please to take a little bit of water, and in the meantime, I first give the floor to the Victims' Counsel because she was already standing before. Victims' Counsel, please.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you very much. I have two remarks, and maybe it's quite useful that we are discussing the defense's examination here at the moment in private to avoid any unnecessary interruption when the defense is conducting the examination. There is one point where I want to emphasize, given the vulnerability of the witness, and I think everyone in the room can feel the pressure he is under, that the defense, that Your Honors may remind the defense of the need to avoid any unnecessary repetition. We have heard this morning already quite extensively what the witness has said about the day when a group of people came to his house after the release from the prison. Of course, there is, I think, one specific question that the defense may have with regard to who attended, given that specifically one name was mentioned by the defense, by the witness. Now, it is one thing to potentially ask or confront the witness with his own statement in which he mentions this name and says something along, yeah, I remember, or can't recall off the cuff just now, but it is another thing then, and I think this is what would be prohibited, to say this particular person has told us here.
But that Victims' Counsel, I said that.
Okay.
So I think that we have discussed, and that's clear. That's clear. For me, at least, I said that to the Defense Counsel very explicitly.
Okay, thank you. In that case, because for me, what the defense said, it did sound as if the mere fact that a name has been mentioned may then permit him to also refer to the transcript with a statement of that specific witness.
Thank you, Victims' Counsel. Madam Prosecutor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Yes, we had 2 points. The first was along the same lines as those raised by the Victims' Counsel. It wasn't clear to me that the exercise that the Defense Counsel was going to get into implied not using at all the statements. So when the Defense Counsel said at line 16, 17 today, unless it is a person that he has named, meaning that the witness has named in his previous statements before by himself. So let's just be clear that there's still the fact that the witness knew the name of a certain person and mentioned that name. This still doesn't allow us, the Defense Counsel, in a cross-examination to put to the witness the statement before this court of that person whose name the witness knows, and to identify him as a witness, not only in these proceedings, but also as a witness who previously gave statements whatsoever. So that was a point of clarification along the same lines that the Victims' Counsel had. And then the follow-up is that then it is still not clear to the SPO what the extent to which the Defense Counsel intends to use transcripts of other witnesses, because if the purpose was to clarify certain aspects of the witness evidence, then the SPO doesn't see the need to notify those transcripts. So I think we haven't clarified yet what use will be made of transcripts or statements of other witnesses. Thank you.
But could you be, Madam Prosecutor, for me a little bit more specific? Because, and then I also look to the Defense Counsel, and I hope you will agree with me that it's clear that you will not, or you should not, put to the witness any information from statements of witnesses that have testified before this court or have given an SPO statement before the SPO that allows the witness here in our courtroom today to identify from whom that information is coming. I mean, there we agree on. I mean, there is no doubt on that. So I think that point is clarified. That's one part of the statements that were listed on the list of the defense that they intend to use for cross-examination. But there are other witness statements too on that same list. Are you referring to those? And if you are referring to those, I don't exactly know what your question is, Madam Prosecutor.
No, Your Honors, I was referring to statements and transcripts of protected witnesses in this case.
Okay. Then I think that on that point, that is clarified. I still have a question for the defense counsel. And I noticed that you were giving submissions, so maybe you would like to add something more to what you wanted to share with the panel and the party, the SPO and the Victims' Council. But the question I still have is, and that's, sorry, Defense Counsel, that's more for the SPO.
We're in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you very much. What we'll do now is I propose to break till 2 o'clock. Then then we will give some guidelines, just to be clear and to sum up also in public where the panel stands with regard to the examination of using the material proposed by the defense, because we have been discussing a lot in private, but I think it's very important that this is made clear where the parties stand and the Victims' Council and where the panel stands. So with a view to our public function. That will be then set out. Then I will give the floor to the Victims' Council to proceed with her questioning. And then what we will do, taking into the consideration that the questioning by the SPO has been shorter than foreseen, and I think it's good to start tomorrow at 9:30 with the cross-examination by the Defense Counsel. And I noted that you said that yes. On the time that you will allocate, that will be allocated to the defense with regard to the testimony, the duration of the testimony, I will come back also after lunch, because I think some words have to be said on that too. So that is it for now. You will send us the list with the material. Thank you. I wish you a good lunch, and then we see each other back at 2 o'clock. The hearing is adjourned.
All right. All right.
With the hearing of testimony of the witness, but first we will do appearances. We are in the same composition.
Yes, Your Honor, same composition as earlier.
The same for the Victims' Counsel team. Thank you. And the Defense Counsel.
Fatmir Pillai will not join us. He will be joining tomorrow.
Okay, and the rest of the composition is the same. Thank you for that. Before the break, we discussed in private session the issue of how the parties and the Victims' Counsel should conduct their examination when wishing to confront a witness with information provided by other protected witnesses in this case. In this respect, the SPO has submitted that this should be done in a general way, so as not to identify vis-à-vis the witness him or herself, and not only vis-à-vis the public, specific people as being witnesses before this court. And the panel will now provide some guidance on the use of prior statements or testimonies of two distinct categories of individuals. SPO protected witnesses, that is the first group, and third persons who provided evidence to judicial authorities but who are not SPO witnesses in this case. Now, with regard to the first category, the parties and the Victims' Counsel shall, and that's also for the panel, shall pay the utmost attention to the manner in which they formulate their questions and in which they intend to confront the witnesses in court with the evidence of other SPO protected witnesses. This is so because we shall not reveal the identity of SPO protected witnesses, not only to the general public, but also to the witnesses testifying in court in line with the protective measures adopted. Accordingly, any reference to prior statements or testimonies of the SPO protected witnesses, whether in public or private session, originating from third persons, such that requires revealing their identity, they must first identify a specific reason or ground to do so, and the panel will decide thereafter. So this is our guidance for this matter. We will now proceed to the interrogation by the Victims' Counsel. You informed us that you would be needing half an hour, less or more. And to the Defense Counsel, tomorrow you will be starting at 9:30, and you will be allocated one session, so 1.5 hours to do the cross-examination. Yes, that is it for now. I will ask Madame Court Usher to usher the witness in. Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome back, Mr. Witness.
Thank you.
I will now give the floor to the Victims' Counsel for her questioning. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
transcript, page 46, line 14 and following. You also mentioned that you do not feel free. And I would like to follow up on this with some more questions. And I'll appreciate that this might be very emotional for you. This would be very, very understandable. But it's important for us to fully understand how it has affected you. Let me first ask you with regard to your own person, what you personally have experienced, your own stress. How does this stress affect you?
I can't start to describe how bad it is. I feel I'm not free. I live in stress. I don't feel I can go freely onto the streets or go to work because of stress.
Does this feel, or does this stress also affect your health, for example, your sleep?
Yes. Yes, it has affected me. It happens that since this thing happened, I can't sleep for more than 2 hours at night. Even when the trial started here in the specialist court, it's only 2 hours sleep that I get every night, at most. I can't sleep more than that. And this is only because of stress.
And I believe that will leave you, or how does this leave you? The lack of sleep, exhausted, tired? I don't know. Could you try to describe what this does to you?
I feel exhausted all the time. I feel weak, and every day is the same. Every day.
Thank you. And how has it influenced the way you live your life? How has it changed your way of life, for example, in any way?
Yes. Yes. My life has changed totally.
Would you like to try to describe to us how this is the case, given that we don't know how you lived before, how you have lived since?
We are in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, I see that it has been very demanding for you. For now, we have completed the questioning of you by the SBO and by the Victims' Council. What we will be doing now is that we will adjourn till tomorrow, and then at 9:30 we will continue. I hope you will get some rest this afternoon and this evening. Yeah. Please don't discuss your testimony given so far with anybody, and then we will see you back tomorrow in the morning. Yeah. The court usher will accompany you out of the courtroom. Does the Specialist Prosecution Office have anything to raise with the panel?
Yes, Your Honor, just a scheduling matter. We were going to send an email, but since we're here, it's probably quicker to communicate it orally. We will take less time with the next witness for 390. This witness was initially scheduled for 2 hours, so it will probably be half of that time or an hour and a half, depending on whether the witness gives straightforward answers or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Victims' Counsel, is there something you would like to raise with the panel for now?
Thank you, Your Honor, there isn't. Thanks.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, do you want to raise something with the panel?
Yes, Your Honor, an entirely different issue that I would like to ask. In the beginning of this month, we had a witness. My counsel and interpreter and investigator were at that time not able to attend, and it was apparently not possible to go through a remote link, video link. And we were just wondering, would there be any kind of format in which that would be possible to do that attendance via a remote link in Kosovo? Now, I do not know what exactly were the things, but if there would be any possibility, not now, but in the future, that would be the issue, then of course that would be very helpful. Now, if there is any, what can I say, protective measure issue or issue regarding whether they would be in an appropriate place for that, would it be possible to let them in, for example, Kosovo, be at a location which would make it possible to do that? So just, it is not that we want we need an answer now or so, but just we were wondering for any future occasion if that would be possible, what modifications or what conditions would be possible to do that. That is the only issue that we wanted to raise, and that's all for now.
Thank you, Defense Counsel. We noted your request, and we will look into it to see whether it is possible, and if it would be possible, under which conditions.
If I may, for example, maybe there is an office of the prosecution in Kosovo that could facilitate it more or less, or a court that could do that. We are just checking into the varieties of possibilities that might enable such attendance.
Okay, Defense Counsel, I will come back to this matter. Okay, if the parties and the Victims Council have anything to raise with the panel, we will resume tomorrow. I thank the parties and the Victims Council and I thank the interpreters and the stenographer and the security and the audio-video booth for the assistance today. The hearing is adjourned till tomorrow, 9:30.
All rise.